On behalf of the So Cultured podcast, I would like to apologise to all of our listeners because we did say on the last episode that Wilma would be here for us to
Oh,
show you.
yes.
However, I still haven't got her. I get her tomorrow. So I promise you guys she will be in not next week's episode, the episode after, which will be episode 9. Oh, actually, which brings us to a new update that we need to give the listeners, which
Yep.
is we have decided to extend our series to 10 episodes rather than
Yep.
8, because every single series that we do, we're like, oh, wish we could do an episode on this, wish we could do another episode. So we've decided, why not just extend all of our series to 10? And we decided, let's just start with this series. So surprise, you are getting an extra 2 bonus episodes this season and every season going forward. So this is very exciting. So in episode 9 of Overlooked, I promise I will show you guys Wilma. I think that's her name. We kind of blessed it on the last episode or the episode before that. I can't remember which one it was, but we did kind of bless it. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's honestly so exciting. I'm a bit sad that she's not here today, but yes, I'm so excited. Hopefully she's here in episode 9. But yeah, honestly, I think the response that we've had for this season has been so positive with regards to like women in STEM. And honestly, there was so many suggestions from you guys as well that we were like, gosh, we actually need to cover these people as well, because they were all just like, they were all very valid suggestions for women to include in the series. So yeah, that's primarily why we decided to extend it for another 2 episodes. So yeah, it's exciting.
100%.
In some fun news though, and I don't know, if you're not really that bothered about like seeing wildlife and stuff, then you might not really care about what I'm about to say. But here in Sydney and generally in Australia, basically you get humpback whales that migrate from Antarctica all the way up to Queensland in Australia to have like their baby whales.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so me and Kieran, we went on a little whale tour, and we did see like baby humpback whales, which was insane. But we also saw dolphins that were like swimming alongside the boat, and I was honestly watching it like in so much, with so much awe. And the sun was setting, and I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've
Oh my gosh.
genuinely experienced like whilst being in Australia. And I think some people think like the wildlife in Australia is like scary and wild. I'm just always blown away at like the wildlife that you find in Australia, honestly.
That was like another main character moment for you. Do you remember a few episodes where we were talking
Yeah.
about like main character? You're like watching the dolphins, the sun's going down. I saw the video on your Instagram story and I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. I've only ever seen dolphins once when I was in Egypt, but not like the way that you saw them. Like you were
Yeah.
so up close. The water was so clear. Like it was incredible. Literally
Yeah,
incredible.
honestly, it was insane. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen dolphins as well, just kind of like swimming in the distance, but never like
That's crazy.
alongside the bow of the boat. So I was literally like, wow. And it
That's
was
crazy.
a main character moment. You know, when you end a day and you're like, this was honestly the most amazing, wholesome day. Even when the boat was
Oh,
coming into the harbour, there was fireworks that were going off, and I was like, what the hell?
oh
It's
my God.
honestly insane. It's like someone said, what is like Taz's perfect day? This is it.
That's it. Oh, that's
This
so
is it.
sweet. Have you ever seen a kangaroo?
Yeah, of course. I'm in
How
Australia.
often do you, how often do you see them? Do they just
Well, there's
like
not really
bounce around?
any like in Sydney because it's like a city, but as soon as you go
Mm.
out into the wilderness, then like you'll probably see one.
Oh my God. What about like
I
spider?
know.
Have you seen any really big spiders?
See, everyone asks me this. I haven't really seen any big spiders. I've seen like normal sized spiders, but none like massive ones, which I think
Wow.
is pretty crazy as well.
Well, maybe they're not like in Sydney as well. Like in a big city, you wouldn't expect to see. I don't know. Anyway, with that said, I think it's time that we get into today's episode. So let's go. Welcome to the So Cultured podcast.
Where we explore science and tech unfiltered.
We're your hosts, Liv and Taz, 2 girls who love STEM and spilling the tea.
Each season, we take on a new theme, whether it's busting conspiracy theories, celebrating women in STEM, or breaking down the science in your favourite sci-fi films.
And of course, in every episode, we spill the laboraTEAAAA,
where we share your wildest stories from the world of science.
Let's get into this week's episode of So Cultured.
Every year, more than 200 million people fall ill with malaria. And for many in the developed world, it's just a line in a textbook, a tropical disease with a complicated name. But in vast regions of the global south, malaria is a brutal reality, a sickness that strikes without warning, draining the life from children, soldiers, farmers, and sometimes even entire communities. For centuries, this invisible killer claimed lives by the millions. Explorers feared it, armies were defeated by it, and despite medical advances in the 20th century, the malaria parasite always seemed to find a way to evolve, outpacing the drugs thrown at it. Now imagine this, it is the height of the Cold War, the world is divided and tense, Western medicine is hitting a wall in the fight against malaria, and suddenly, within a closed-off country, isolated by revolution and politics, a breakthrough quietly emerges. Not from a major Western lab, not from a Nobel-winning scientist at Harvard or Oxford, but from a woman working in near anonymity in Beijing, trained in both modern pharmacology and ancient Chinese medicine. And her name is Youyou. She had no doctorate. She never studied abroad. She wasn't even a member of China's top scientific academies. And yet she would become the woman who changed the global fight against malaria forever. By the 1940s, over 30 million people in China were infected with malaria, but by the 21st century, that number dropped to zero. And that was all made possible in large part by one woman, Youyou. She was a scientist, a pioneer, and eventually became a Nobel laureate. Now, she is the woman who saved millions of lives using a 1600-year-old recipe.
My God, that's insane. This sounds so interesting. So, for any of the listeners who don't know, we just did like a giveaway, as we do in between all of our seasons, where we always ask you guys to comment something like relevant to the particular season that we're doing. And this time around, we asked you guys to comment like the names of your favorite female scientists or favorite like women in STEM. And so many people commented her name, but I'm actually embarrassed because I really didn't know, like I've never heard of her before. And it's just insane because like obviously I've learned so much about malaria, so I just find it insane that I've never heard her name. So I think, as always, let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us about her and kind of like her early life and how she kind of got started in this journey?
Yeah, I find it so interesting as well. Like, didn't hear of her name before doing this season, to be honest. And like, malaria
Yeah,
is such a big thing, and like, we have
exactly.
anti-malarial tablets. It's crazy to think that I didn't know about 2UU before this. So I think
Mhm.
it's so interesting, and this story is so interesting as well, so I'm really excited to tell you. But Youyou, she was born on the 30th of December 1930 in Ningbo, a coastal city in Zhejiang province, China. Her name Youyou actually comes from an ancient line of poetry, and this is so wild. Okay, so the line of poetry goes: with pleased sounds, the deer called to one another, eating the southern wood of the fields. And obviously, in Chinese, it speaks about the southernwood of the fields as relating to Youyou. So the southernwood in the poem refers to King Hao, and the Latin name for this is Artemisia annua, or a sweet wormwood plant, which was the very plant which would define Tu's life and career. Now, everyone
What?
thinks this is kind of like a crazy, beautiful coincidence, and others think it's fate, but I'll obviously get more into how her like literal name relates to the plant that she researches. I just think it's so wild. So Tu attended the Zhaoxi Middle School in Ningbo for junior high and part of high school before transferring to Ningbo Middle School in 1948. But at the age of 16, she actually contracted tuberculosis, which forced her to leave school for 2 years. And it was this exact experience which changed her. So after recovering, Tu became determined to pursue medical research to find cures for illnesses like the one she'd just overcome. So from 1951 to 1955, she studied at Peking University University Medical School, now known as the Beijing Medical College, in the Department of Pharmaceutical Scientists. And after graduating in 1955, she received further training in traditional Chinese medicine for around 2.5 years. She then began her professional career at the Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine, which is now the China Academy of Chinese Medical Sciences in Beijing, and she stayed there for her entire research life. So Tu Youyou was remarkably born, educated, and conducted her groundbreaking work entirely within China.
Wow. That's so amazing that, like, I just think these women are just so incredible because, like, she obviously had this disease, and then that was what I just find it really interesting what motivates all of these women to, like, go on and do
Mm,
the amazing science that they did because, yeah, there's so many people who were
yeah.
just, I don't know, like, just, I just think it's insane that she had this disease and then was like, okay, now this is what I want to do. I want to go into a profession where I'm going to be responsible for finding cures. Like, that's just so cool.
Mm, yeah.
Um, And I think it's even crazier that she didn't even have like a PhD because we kind of just like associate all of anyone who has like a Nobel Prize, you just assume they've got a PhD, right? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's so
Mhm.
cool. So what did she do after that then?
Yeah, I know, like, her story is kind of insane, to be honest. But before her famous work on malaria, Tu studied traditional Chinese herbs believed to treat schistosomiasis, which is a parasitic disease caused by flatworms that infect the urinary tract and intestines. And at the time,
Mm.
it was widespread in South China. So she investigated herbs like Lobelia chinensis, learning how ancient knowledge might be used to tackle modern public health problems. And her dedication to blending traditional wisdom with a more sort of modern science became a real signature to her approach in like finding cures. And so by the late 1960s, Tu's experience with traditional medicine and pharmacology made her an ideal candidate for a top secret initiative. So in
Mm.
1967, during the Vietnam War, North Vietnam's leader Ho Chi Minh asked the Chinese premier Zhao Enlai for help. Malaria was devastating Vietnamese troops along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Soldiers were falling ill en masse, and the most common treatment, chloroquine, had become essentially ineffective due to the growing resistance of the malaria parasite. So
Mhm.
at the same time, malaria remained a major killer in southern China, especially in Guangdong and Guangxi. So Zhao Enlai convinced Mao Zedong to launch a secret drug discovery initiative called Project 523, named after its launch date, 23rd of May 1967. So in
Wow.
early 1969, Tu, who was 39 years old at the time, was appointed head of the Project 523 research group at her institute, and she and her team were first sent to Hainan Island, where they observed malaria's effect firsthand and began field studies. So there was a huge outbreak of malaria here, and like they witnessed death, obviously from
Mhm.
malaria,
Yeah.
fever, and generally how it's affecting people. And so from there, they were essentially looking at ways to treat it and treat these patients. And at the time, worldwide, scientists had screened over 240,000 compounds with no success. So the situation was truly desperate.
Yeah.
So, Tu, using her sort of background, she decided to pivot.
Oh my God, this is just, yes, already so interesting because I feel like everybody kind of, or a lot of people look at Chinese medicine as some kind of like, is fad the right word? I don't know if fad's the right word.
Mm.
Pseudoscience, I guess.
Yeah, I think people look at like holistic treatment, which,
Mm,
and people talk about going to a naturopath and stuff, and
yeah.
they'll give them some wacky ideas for treatment. And I feel like it might not be the correct way to approach it, but like some people have the same view of Chinese medicine where it's like, it's not rooted in modern science, it's not rooted in
Mm.
modern research. So, yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of my view, but I feel as though my view might change in this episode. So I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. So what does she do differently to the other scientists then? I'm guessing it's incorporating her knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah, you're spot on. So, obviously, rather than pursue kind of synthetic compounds that would be made like in a chemistry lab, to turn to ancient wisdom. So basically, she scoured thousands of Chinese medical texts and consulted in herbalists across China, and she compiled her findings in a handwritten notebook called A Collection of Single Practical Prescriptions for Anti-Malaria, and it listed over 640 ancient remedies. So her team screened over 2,000 traditional recipes and tested 380 extracts from 200 herbs. But despite this, Tu was struggling to find an extract that actually worked like 100% of the time. There was one herb that stood out called King Hao, and it's also known as sweet wormwood, or in Latin Artemisia annua, which was described as being used to treat intermittent fevers, which is obviously a common sign in malaria in these sort of ancient texts. So this preparation, so like this recipe that she found that used this herb, was found in a 1,600-year-old text titled
Oh my God.
Emergency Prescriptions Kept Up One Sleeved by Ji Hong. And it was written around 340 BC, which I think is so crazy.
I'm still laughing about BC this late on. I need to get my life
Oh
together.
my God. BC, AD, it's all very confusing, but I feel like we're almost pros in
No,
it now
no, no,
because
no, 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 no. We are no longer confused. We know what they are now. It just makes me
we
laugh.
know what they
BC
are
before
now.
Christ. AD is
We don't know. We don't
and
know. Something
something
like
like
add
Anio Domino.
something like. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
isn't it
Anio
a
Domino. What is it?
domino? Add domino or something. I don't know.
Domino's, Domino pizza. That's what I'm thinking of.
Something
God,
to
I could
do with
eat something right
that.
now. Because can one of the
We're
listeners
both
comment?
starving.
Can one of the listeners comment on this episode? What does AD stand for again? Because it's not Anio Domino.
It's
But
something
anyway,
domini though, isn't it? Anyway.
Domino, that's
But
it. Oh, one of the listeners is gonna have to comment. Please, guys, help us out.
we can't do this. It's one of those things that just doesn't like
Stay in the
go
brain.
into your
It's
head.
like the Krebs
It's just
cycle. I mean, well, actually, who the hell is supposed to remember the Krebs cycle? But anyway.
no idea.
Taz, you know I love an AI tool. Absolutely love them. But
Yeah.
honestly, sometimes I spend way too much time messing with it, only to end up with something literally completely unusable. I literally just sit there tweaking the prompt, changing the prompt, hitting regenerate over and over. And still, I feel like sometimes it just still looks like AI literally made it in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, honestly, we've all been there. And this is actually where we tell you about today's sponsor, Create, because it's not just another AI content tool. It actually feels like working with an assistant at work.
Yeah, you can type a simple idea and it will turn it into a full-on PowerPoint or business report, just like that. So if you need visuals, charts, formatting, it's literally all built in. And the best part is that it gives you something solid right away and something that you don't have to then spend an hour trying to fix.
100%. And if you do want to make changes, it's super intuitive. If you want a new layout, just say so. If you think the chart's outdated, click to update. Your image isn't working, swap it out in a second. There's no more wrestling with stubborn formatting or endless rewriting.
Yeah, Create is great for students. And honestly, I even feel like great for PR and marketing, product managers, content creators, literally anyone who needs to create polished work quickly without all of the hassle.
Yeah, so if you're tired of fighting with your general AI tools and just want to get things done, check out the description. And thanks again to Create for sponsoring this episode. Right, so back to Jing Hong, who was living around 340 BC. In this text that she found, it basically gave her instructions on how to use this herb. And it said, take a handful of King Hao, soak it in cold water, wring out the juice, and drink it all. And that one detail, soaking, not boiling, actually changed everything. So Tu realised that boiling the leaves, as her team had done with this herb and likely other herbs as well, destroyed the active ingredients. So she revised her method using a low temperature ether extraction to preserve the compound's potency. She made a solution steeped in alcohol and water, allowing the active ingredients to be extracted gently. And on the 4th of October 1971, extract sample 191 was tested on infected mice and monkeys, and it cured malaria 100% of the time.
Oh
So
my
it
God.
was a world-changing breakthrough, like all from this one ancient text, which I think is wild.
That is crazy. And can you imagine just being her at that time and realizing that it's worked? I mean, that's just incredible that the recipe was in this super ancient text. And you know what? That kind of makes me think. I wonder how much knowledge, cures, or just knowledge in general has been lost to ancient civilizations. Because, I mean, when you think about it, it's incredible that this ancient text was preserved enough
Mm.
that she, number one, had access to it, could read it, interpret it, and then make it into what it was eventually used for. Like, that's just incredible, really, when you think
Yeah.
about it.
And you know what it also reminds me of? So there's a thing here in Australia, obviously, you have Indigenous Australians, and the population, like Indigenous Australians, is like one of the oldest in the world. I recently went to a lecture from a guy who was basically working with Indigenous Australians and basically how to preserve the biodiversity and the wilderness, and like what kind of things they used to see in Australia. And it's so crazy how basically so much is like passed down through
Mm,
stories from elders down to
yeah.
like younger generations, so much so that their sort of knowledge is more valuable than like
Mhm.
anything that's ever been written down, because it's like an accurate representation of what Australia was like before
Yeah.
colonizers came over and destroyed everything basically. So
Mhm.
I think it's so important actually, and this kind of highlights how important it is to kind of not necessarily, I don't know, overlook
Yeah. Yes.
ancient
Yeah.
texts and like, I don't know, I guess
Discredit
Chinese
even
medicine
yeah, I was about
and
to say,
like,
like, even just discredit or dismiss, like, Chinese medicine and, like you said, these kind of, like, natural remedies. So, yeah, it's so cool.
yeah.
So cool.
I think it's so interesting as well. I think like in general, obviously, this is a great example. There's been some kind of observation that something helps, and now we can kind of delve into that scientifically as to
Yeah.
why that might be.
Yeah.
And I definitely find that that's definitely a thing here with Indigenous Australians. They already have so many solutions for things, but they might not necessarily know the science behind it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But like, because it's been passed on down generations, it's like this ultimate knowledge.
Established.
And I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, we definitely shouldn't overlook that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, having said everything we've just said, I'm interested in, like, how this actually ended up rolling out and people kind of ended up accepting this natural remedy, I guess, kind of went into popular medicine. That's not the right word, but you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like modern medicine.
Modern
Yeah,
medicine,
so
that's
by 1972, Tu and her team isolated the active compound and named it Qinghao or artemisinin. So Tu also investigated its chemical structure and pharmacological properties, and in 1973, while studying the molecule further, she accidentally synthesized a more potent derivative, dihydroartemisinin, an important follow up drug which is still used today. So, Tu also volunteered to be the first human test subject to kind of test whether it would be
wow.
toxic in any way. And she later said, as head of this research group, I had that responsibility, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
But obviously, she experienced no adverse effects and was then confident in its safety. So the team treated 21 malaria patients on that Hainan island that I told you about, and every single one of them recovered.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. Absolutely insane. Do you know what it's kind of reminded me of is like the discovery of penicillin in a weird way. Like obviously not accidental, but amazing that it's from nature and it just works and she managed to kind of figure this all out. So
Mm.
Can we talk a little bit about how it actually does work then? Like, how does it actually cure malaria?
Yeah, so artemisinin actually works in a really fascinating way. So once the malaria parasites infect human red blood cells, they kind of break down and digest the hemoglobin, causing them to make a compound called hemozoin. And when artemisinin, so the extract from the plant, encounters hemozoin, the two compounds react to create unstable atoms known as free radicals, and those atoms essentially have uneven numbers of electrons, and as a result these free radicals react extremely readily with other atoms to the point where they actually tear cells apart, and these violent reactions actually destroy the parasites within these red blood cells. So obviously the more hemoglobin or red blood cells that they consume, the more likely they are to get ripped apart by this artemisinin. So artemisinin can also affect human cells, but it reacts much more readily with the hemozoin than with the iron that's in our blood and other compounds in our bodies. So that essentially makes it safe at really kind of carefully controlled doses.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, it sounds so like simple. Do you know what I mean? I just think this
Mm-hmm.
is so cool. This is such a interesting story, and I can see why everybody was commenting about her name. And yeah, I'm so happy that we've like done this story. But what were the like? Obviously, we know that. I'm assuming that this has obviously led to like, anti-malaria tablets, like we spoke about. But what were the kind of impacts of this discovery? Because we spoke about how she didn't have a doctorate, for example. Did she actually end up like publishing this work, or like how did it kind of? Yeah, what were the impacts? I guess.
Yeah, her findings were actually first published anonymously in 1977. I think it's because it was probably a secret project for
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam War, but I'm not sure. And in 1981, she presented her research to the World Health Organization, and that's when the world slowly took notice. And by the early 2000s, artemisinin-based therapies were officially recommended by the WHO as the first line of treatment for
Incredible.
malaria, especially in combination with other drugs to essentially prevent resistance. And because of artemisinins' low solubility and limited bioavailability, there was also sort of semi-synthetic derivatives that were developed, but the basis was artemisinin, the compound that was discovered by two. And these compounds just made the drug more effective, easier to deliver, and faster acting. And between 2000 and 2015, malaria deaths dropped by 60%. And among children under 5 specifically, deaths fell by 65%. So artemisinin-based drugs are credited with saving millions of lives, especially in Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, and China, where malaria is now eradicated.
My gosh, yeah, that's incredible. Like seriously big impact. I just can't imagine doing
Mm-hmm.
work and then it having that big of an impact. Like that's just
Yeah.
incredible. Did she receive any recognition for this? Because you mentioned how it was like published anonymously. It was part of this secret project
Mm-hmm.
in the war. Did she ever actually receive any recognition for it?
Yeah, so she initially continued her work quietly in Beijing, and then in 1980 she was promoted to the rank of researcher, which is the highest scientific rank in China. And then in
Nice.
2001 she began advising doctoral candidates, and as of 2025, at the age of 95, she remains the chief scientist at the China
Wow.
Academy of Chinese Medical
Iconic.
Sciences, which is insane.
Iconic. What a queen.
Obviously, despite her initial and incredible contributions, she was largely unknown for decades and was literally nicknamed the three without scientists. So, without a postgraduate degree, without overseas education, and without membership in
Wow.
China's prestigious national academies. But obviously, history caught up, and in 2011, Tu received the Lasker DeBakey Clinical Medical Research Award, one of the highest honors in American medicine. And in 2015, she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology, or Medicine alongside William
Yeah.
C. Campbell and Satoshi Omura. And she was the first Chinese Nobel laureate in Physiology or Medicine and the first female citizen of the People's Republic of China to win a Nobel Prize in any category. And then in 2019, Tu was honoured with the Medal of the Republic, the highest civilian honour in China. And today, her team continues research on artemisinin-based compounds for autoimmune diseases, photosensitivity disorders, and even cancer.
Yes. What a queen. I love this. I love
Honestly,
to
so
hear
crazy.
these women getting the recognition they deserve. And although the series is called Overlooked, it's not all about women who never received the recognition that they should have got, but it's also about women just who have incredible stories who you might not have heard about. And in that sense, they are overlooked because we know a lot about like really famous male scientists who have done incredible things as well. But even though she got the recognition that she deserved, there's probably so many people listening to this who didn't know her story. So in some way, she's still overlooked, you know what I mean? And I think we've had a few stories like this on this series. So yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. And imagine being 95, you're still going.
I know. It's
Iconic.
crazy, isn't
Love that
it?
from her. Wow, I could never.
Yeah, honestly, her story is amazing. And I just think what a weird turn of fate where like her name basically means the plant that she kind of researched
Oh my
and
god, I forgot
found
about
to be a
that. Yeah.
treatment for malaria. And this plant, it doesn't have beautiful flowers, there's no sweet fragrance, there's no like not really anything special about it, but obviously inside its leaves was essentially a cure and one that Youyou patiently uncovered. And today artemisinin and its derivatives remain vital in the fight against malaria, saving millions of lives and counting, and it's particularly crucial in the developing world where access to affordable and effective medicine is essentially critical. And Youyou's story is one of very quiet determination. She didn't set out for global recognition, she simply wanted to find a cure where no one else had. And her work is particularly special because it bridges ancient tradition and modern science, reminding us that life-saving innovation can come from anywhere, even from the pages of a 1600-year-old manuscript, which is
Oh my
just
god, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That is such a beautiful story. Like, really interesting to hear about her story, her background, and just how malaria treatment actually became available. Because, I mean, yeah, I've taken like anti malaria tablets, and you just never think about how these drugs actually came about. But also, it's been really eye opening to learn about Chinese medicine, I guess, and how
Mm,
that can feed into modern science. So, yeah, this
yeah.
was such an interesting episode.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I think we always have to appreciate the fact that we come from like a Western
Yes,
perspective, right?
100%.
And I don't know, I just think there is like an element of bias in that perspective.
Definitely.
And I 100% agree. Like, I think it's very easy for us as scientists as well to kind of look at the homeopathic route and the naturopath route as like just a load of rubbish, basically.
Mhm.
And I especially kind of feel that coming from being in virus research and doing
Mhm.
vaccines, especially post COVID. So I actually find it quite enlightening and quite nice to learn about situations where it has led to a cure and that it's not all bogged down in this rubbish that we always learn about. So I think it is
Definitely. And
important
how
to
many
learn
other
about that.
stories similar to this that we don't know about, you know? How many I'm sure
Mm,
this isn't the only case where
no.
like Chinese medicine has assisted or like helped in
Yeah,
modern science. So
for
yeah, it's so
sure.
interesting. I feel like I need to go and read more about it and educate myself a little bit about it because yeah, it sounds so interesting. But overall, this was such a fantastic episode, and it was so nice to hear her backstory because, as I said, we had so many comments from our listeners
Hmm.
telling us her name and telling us a little bit about her story. So it was so nice to hear more about it. So thank you so much for that, Taz. We still have another 3 episodes left of this season, so we have a few more amazing stories to cover. But for now, let's move into the laboratory section of today's episode because I looked at the email this morning and I was like, what the hell? And you guys are you need to hear this. So let's get into the laboratory section of today's episode.
But I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll stick like glue inside
Right, okay, brace yourself for this because this is absolutely crazy. This email starts off with, I caught my lab mates having sex next to a centrifuge full of viral vectors. Now I can't sleep or sit at that bench. So many
What?
questions just from that subject line. Like, I have so many questions. Okay, let's get straight into it. So it says, you know that one lab couple everyone jokes about, but no one seriously believes is a thing? Yeah, in our case, it was very real. Let's call them Gavin and Beverly. I love that these names are being carried forward throughout all the seasons.
Yeah.
So, both final year PhD students, they have always had this chaotic chemistry. They will fight over protocols 1 minute and then I catch them laughing together in the tissue culture room the next. No one had actual proof that they were dating or seeing each other until I walked into the lab late one Thursday night to grab my charger that I had forgot. I thought I was alone because it's always empty at 9 p.m. because who the hell stays in the lab until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But when I went in, I immediately heard noises. At first, I thought something was wrong with the shaker, or maybe the minus 80 freezer was freaking out again. And so I started to panic because I was thinking I was going to have to call the lab manager at 9 p.m. to tell him that the minus 80 has gone down again. But then I heard it. Sorry, the next part of this is actually cracking me up. But then I heard it. I don't know why they've been so. I mean, we always ask for details, but like.
Oh God.
But then
what?
I heard it. Soft moaning. Creepy and drawn out, followed by the sound of someone's boots banging again.
No, what?
Followed by, no, get it together, Liv. Followed by the sound of someone's boots banging against the metal drawers beneath one of the benches. I went around the corner and there they were, Gavin and Beverly, fully going at it in capitals on the lab bench. Her legs were wrapped around his waist, and he even still had gloves on.
What?
The
Sorry,
centrifuge was spinning away next to them, and it was almost like part of the background music. Oh my God. She says, I gasped, in brackets, I couldn't help it, and Gavin turned just enough to see me. I panicked and bolted. I haven't said a word to either of them, but the tension since then has been unbearable because they obviously know that I saw them. And here's the thing. This isn't just a basic lab. We work in a biosafety level 2 environment, which means that we handle infectious samples, viral vectors, and things that absolutely should not be mingling with bodily fluids. I don't want to snitch, but it's genuinely a biohazard risk. I keep wondering, should I report it anonymously, say something directly, or should I just stay out of it and pretend I never saw a damn thing? Because honestly, I haven't looked at that bench the same way since. I'm not surprised. I am actually not surprised.
Oh my gosh.
Taz, what are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts because you look a bit. You're like. I obviously skim read this email like when I saw it. So, but this is like your first time hearing it. What are your thoughts?
I'm flabbergasted. I mean, surely everybody thought like it would be fun to, you know, it's always a fun kind of thought to be like, oh, have sex where you shouldn't kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think that's just like people, that's just like work in general. Like, you know, I think we've spoke about this on the podcast before, is that some people have a kink for like having sex in public places. And this could be considered a public place, 100%.
Things just obviously got like a little bit too spicy in the lab and then they couldn't say no to each other.
The boots are banging on the drawer.
Oh my God, I can't deal with that detail. Oh, the metal drawers. And the centrifuge just like whirring next to them. Like, what?
Sorry, I'm laughing so loud into this mic, but this is just so funny. Because I'm just like, what was they thinking? Like, what was they actually thinking? Because even if I was like 99.999% sure that no one's going to come into the lab, I'm still not chancing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not chancing it.
Also, you could get sacked on the spot, surely.
Oh, 100%. I mean, imagine if the lab manager caught them. What if the minus 80 freezer did actually go down, the lab manager turns up? And then... But Taz, can you give us your opinion on the safety part? What we're thinking? Because I don't really know much about that, so I need your input.
I think I said this in the previous episode, might be like season 1 we're talking, but I basically did a safety course for working in a containment facility, right? To work with viruses and stuff. Anyway, it's so weird because in this course, they were telling us stories of things where people didn't abide by like the safety measures and things like that. And one of the stories was so similar to this, where
Oh my God, I remember
basically,
you telling us about it.
yeah, basically there was this couple, they were in a containment facility that handled, I think it was like anthrax, which is basically deadly. And they had sex in the lab in this containment facility, and they ended up like exposing themselves to anthrax, and they both passed away from it.
Because I think at the time we were debating, we were like, is that a true story? But do you know what? Like, maybe it is because, I mean, here we are. We have another similar situation. So it could be highly likely that that was a true story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't the one who told it. I was a bit like, that is wild to think that they that was like the last thing they did kind of thing. But yeah, this is not too far-fetched from maybe reality. So I don't know. I just think like, why risk
Crazy.
it firstly? If I was that person though, I don't know what I would do. I think I would maybe say something to them
Would you?
personally. Yeah, I think I would just be like, look, I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want like you to be sacked or like not be able to pursue your PhD because of this, but like that honestly has real safety implications. Like you could have exposed yourself to something, and we're not talking a STI, we're talking well, maybe a STI, who knows?
Maybe.
But like,
That's what they work on, I guess.
yeah, I think I would say something. I would just be like, I really don't think you should do that again. I don't
I
want to
mean,
get you in
Gavin
trouble.
did see her, so Gavin knows. You know what I mean? It's not like she's got to go up to him and be like, "Oh, by the way, I saw you." Like Gavin saw her.
Also, I don't think I could deal with like the pressure of like and the awkwardness constantly. I think for me, I'm very much someone who can't deal with like the tension. I think I would
You have
have
to
to say
address it.
something. I'd have to address the situation and just be like, look, I'm not going to report you, not going to say anything. But had anyone else seen that, I feel like you could have got sacked if they reported you because that is so
100%.
unsafe.
I'm the exact same. I would have to say something like I would, and as I said, Gavin saw you anyway, so you don't even have to say anything to Beverly. You just say to Gavin, dude,
Mm.
yeah, I saw you. Exactly what Taz said. I'm not going to report you, but come on now. And then if you see them again, then yeah, maybe report them. Because also, can you not have sex on the lab bench that I am going to work on? Like, you want me to come in at 9 a.m. tomorrow and start
Oh
prepping my
God,
samples? And like,
no.
no, you might lead to some contamination as
What if
well.
you needed to
That
use
ain't
that
fair.
centrifuge?
Yeah,
God.
literally. What's it's their Red Room music, apparently.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think it's unfair. What if Gavin contaminates your samples?
Ew. With what?
Well, use your imagination, Taz. They're
The
having sex
fact, no,
on the lab
sorry.
bench.
Do you know what detail got me the most? He
What?
still had his gloves on.
Oh my god, yeah. Do you know what? I didn't even think of that. You're right, actually, because yeah, listen, we can't get too graphic on this podcast, but that don't sit right with me. Let me say that. That ain't sitting right with me at all. You're right. I mean, I
Sorry.
was too hung up on the boots banging on the drawers, but you're right about the gloves.
No, the gloves. It's like when the boy keeps his socks on. Take them off.
I mean, I was more concerned about what those gloves have touched and then what they touched after, but fair play.
I'm just thinking from a cringe perspective. I'm like, take them
Yeah, it's
off,
giving
babe.
ick. It's giving
Imagine
ick.
if
It's
you're like
like,
completely naked and you just had your plastic gloves on. Like, what?
well, you never know. That could be a kink for some people. We spoke about the lab goggle kink, the
Oh,
lab
yeah.
coat kink. It could be a glove, but I agree with you. Like, it is like keeping your socks on, or like when they keep on like their Apple Watch or something. Take off the Apple Watch. Like, I can't be dealing with that.
Take it off. It's not cardio that you can
Like,
record.
yeah, they're trying to like close their rings. Honestly, I'm like, take it off. I can't be doing
Oh,
this.
no. Oh, this is so cringe. The gloves is just too much. The gloves and the boots. Her boots banging in his glove. Oh.
Stop. This is awful. I mean, they're lucky it was you that caught
Maybe
them
he
and
was
not
holding
like.
the bench and he wanted to be like safe in that respect.
Yeah, I think you've already crossed the line of being safe. Like, you're on a lab bench. I don't think the gloves are gonna help you. I just want to know, like,
Oh.
specifically what they like work on. I think like that would be interesting to know specifically what do they work on, because imagine it's like, I don't know what could be like really deadly. Well, it said they work with viral vectors.
Yeah, viral vectors aren't live virus necessarily, but like, why take the risk? Imagine if you're responsible for COVID round 3 because you were shagging on a lab bench. Imagine if that's how COVID came about.
We should have spoke about that in the COVID Lab League episode.
We
Hypothesis number
should have.
4. Gavin and Beverly on the lab bench.
No, Gavin and Beverly. Pandemic.
I mean,
Who
obviously
caused
it just
it?
got a bit hot in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, work romances can be a bit spicy. I've had one myself at some point, not in academia, and they can be pretty, exciting. But I don't think I would take it as far as to like actually have sex at work. But as I said, each to their own. Obviously, in the moment that felt right to them. For whatever reason. But my question is, it's not like when you're at university and also they're doing their doctorates, most people are not living with their parents, so it's not like you don't have your own place where you can just go home.
Know.
Why don't you guys just go hang out outside of the lab and go out for a nice dinner, a few drinks, and then just go back to one of your places? Like, why have we got to be doing it on the lab bench?
Yeah, like, get a room, don't get a lab. Wild. Wild, wild, wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. Well, I think, okay, in response to what you should do, I think you should confront Gavin and be like, look, dude, like, I saw this, totally inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to report you, but unsafe. Also, can you not my lab bench that I need to use, because let's not be doing that.
Make him embarrassed about it, because they deserve
100%.
it.
And then be like, look, I'm not going to talk to Beverly about it, but like, you need to talk to Beverly about it, because if Beverly didn't see you, maybe you don't need to tell her that you saw her. But Gavin, he saw you, so free reign, go for it.
Yeah. Control your impulses, Gavin. Take the gloves off next time, and next time don't do it in the lab.
You heard it here first. That's just insane. But whatever you decide to do, can you please email in?
Yeah, I feel like obviously the longer we've been doing this, I feel like the longer our followers have been like more comfortable with sharing the juicy details. And I feel like this season more than ever, we've been like, can you tell us what happens next, please? Can you tell us what happens next? So
100%.
I'm really hoping next season we have some like follow-up information.
How
because
fun
that
would it be if we could do like a whole like follow-up bonus episode? Because we have considered doing like bonus episodes, bonus laboraTEAAA episodes, where we would do like just reading out and reacting to laboraTEAAA. So definitely let us know if that's something that you'd be interested in, because we could potentially do it in the future. Or maybe you just prefer like bonus sciencey focused episodes, or just bonus episodes in general where we do both. But it'd be so fun to do like where are they now? What happened since the laboraTEAAA? Like, how fun would that be? So if you're listening and you're someone who's ever wrote in a laboraTEAAA, then feel free to send us in a follow-up, and we will save it for an episode in the future where we will do a follow-up, because I just think that would be so funny, and just to like revisit the laboraTEAAA that they originally sent in. And then so if you're one of those people, feel free to send it in.
For sure. And if you have a laboratory that you want to submit anyway, we'll always leave the anonymous link in the description for you to submit something. So yeah, that wraps up episode 7. But before we go, guys, if you are enjoying this season and are loving our laboratory, then please don't hesitate to follow us, subscribe to us, give us a like, give us a rating. It really does help us, and it motivates us to obviously continue. And if you have any comments for us, we would love to hear from you and love to hear your thoughts on the season and the episode so far. So yeah, that pretty much wraps
100%.
up episode 7, and we will see you guys in next week's episode. Bye.
Bye, guys.